to the HR Morning Boost with me and the fabulous Debra Corey. While we are waiting, just for everybody to arrive, it would be awesome to please drop into the chat for me where you're dialing in from. I would love to know where you're dialing in from. So drop us into the chat, tell us where you're dialing in from. I always feel like, Debra, there's a competition here about who finds the one closest to their home.
Ooh,
So I'm quite excited
in
to
that
see
case, I'm
who.
gonna write then.
Yes, let's
Just
see.
in
Oh, there's a
case anyone lives near
Manchester.
me.
We've got a Manchester, Cornwall, Deborah's Rugby, Aberdeen, Puddington, Cheshire. Oh, I quite like that one. Not
It's a geography class
Pudsey.
here.
Love this. Galway. That's where my family's from, Galway. How lovely. Oh, Calm. That's close to me. That's close to me.
Ooh,
Midlands,
yeah,
Stamford.
Midlands.
Warwickshire. That's close to you, Deborah, I
That's
think.
me.
Yeah. Petswood, Huddersfield. Ken, just downstairs. I feel like we've had some close ones. Morning from Milton Keynes. Hello, hello. Excellent.
Can I tell
Excellent.
you a
I feel like,
silly story while we're waiting? When I
please
first
do.
moved to the UK, the first thing I was asked was to design pay structures for all of our stores at Gap across the UK.
Mm.
And I had all these strange towns that I didn't even know how to pronounce. And I had to figure out, was it a city? Was it a province? So I was told it depended on the number of pubs and churches on
Wow.
whether it was a city or township. There you go.
I love this. I love this. Pubs are very important in the UK. They're
Uh,
not as important in America, are they?
no, yeah. And the more you have, the bigger the city or the town. I didn't remember. It was quite a
Yeah,
few years ago.
I love it. I love it. So, morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us on HR Morning Boost, sponsored by you guys. I am here today with the wonderful Debra Corey, and we are going to be talking about HR getting its flowers. So, finally, HR getting its own flowers and how we can go from applause to appreciation or appreciation to applause. I don't know. We'll work that one out as we go. We are going to be talking about all things appreciation today. Debra is with me. I am an absolute fangirl of Debra. She knows this, and I do this every time we're on a session together. I first met Debra when I was an HR director in 2020, and I was in the depths of lockdown, hating my life and my job, and was just miserable. And I remember reading your chapter of your book, Bring Your Values Out to Play, Debra, because you had a special chapter on bringing your values out to play in lockdown, and it gave me life. So I
Oh,
from then on, I was like, she has to be my friend. And there we are.
I love that. How many years later? 5 years
I
later.
know, 5 years
Yeah,
later. Yeah, that's
brilliant.
amazing.
Wait a
Yeah.
minute. 5 years later, I'm trying to count. 3 books since then.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
really, really. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, I love that. So you have 6 books in total. I'm going to get them wrong now, aren't I? Because I'm going to say you did the
That's
engagement
okay.
bridge, then you did appreciate it, so you appreciate
Two
it.
on that. Two on
Yeah,
recognition.
bringing your values out to play.
Yep. And then leadership.
See it, say appreciate it, leadership. Yes.
My first one was on communications, though. My
Ah,
very first
yes.
book was on communications. Yeah,
That's the one. That's the one I haven't
I
ever
had
read,
made so many mistakes. I had made so many mistakes on communications. So it was my gift of do not do this. And basically, that's what it was. Yeah.
I love this. I love that it's the same also with your Bad Bosses Ruin Lives book. Because when we were talking about it together, you were like, oh, well, then I did this and that made me that boss. And I just loved it so much that it's so real. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for bringing joy into my life.
Aw.
So why do you think HR are really bad at appreciating ourselves? Like we're really good at doing like cake days for people. We do lots of great recognition for other people. We often write in the communications for people doing the appreciation, but we don't appreciate ourselves. So why do you think we're so bad at it in HR?
Yeah, I mean, I think we don't appreciate ourselves, but also, let's be real, the business doesn't always appreciate us as
Word.
well. So, if you have any of these types of recognition platforms and you've got the leaderboard, do you ever see an HR person's on the top? You always see the HR person on the top for giving recognition. So
Yes.
often,
Yes.
there's two leaderboards, who gives the most, who receives, but we don't receive. And it's interesting, as I was preparing, I was trying to think about, why the hell does this happen? I think part of it is just facts of life. It's the type of work we do.
Mm.
A lot of what we do is so confidential. It's not like we can just scream and shout about, oh, yes, I put someone on a disciplinary today, or, yeah,
Yeah.
I did this and I did that. So I think to some extent, we have to just admit it and face it and look for appreciation in different ways. I've got a really silly story. I remember the first time I put in a recognition platform, and I was a bit nervous because social media was still new. I wasn't used
Mm.
to it. And like on the second day, someone wrote on the online recognition, "Thank you, Debra Corey, for helping me get a pay increase for my employee." And I thought, holy shit, what is going to happen now? Everyone is now going to start, asking me to give people pay increases and things like that. And I think that's why a lot of people don't do it. It's like, we don't want to share that confidential. I don't know your thoughts on that, Michelle.
Yeah, no, I think it's really interesting. And I guess you're right, because you can't do that like, oh, Michelle ran a great redundancy situation this week. Thanks so much for no appeals and no ETs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think a factor of it is like our kind of work means that we often don't get that chance to shout each other out. So yeah, I think you're right. And I think it's really interesting when we kind of think about like how would you almost recognize an HR person? And I don't, it is almost like, and I don't want to do this, but it's almost like if you had your own separate recognition safe space, I bet you it would go bananas with HR people, right? But we don't walk around make something separate. So I think it's quite interesting to think about how we could do it in a way that works without it seeming like performative. I don't like that
Yeah.
either.
But I mean, I guess even if we are doing confidential work, there's still ways that we can be recognized for it. So it might not be specific to the individual, but it could be how many of us in HR do a really good job of sharing data. I had a boss, a CEO, call me a cheerleader once because I was adamant that I was going to get HR's voices being heard. And every
Yeah.
board meeting, I would submit tons and tons of data, like we handled this many grievances. We had the positive
Yeah.
and the negative, just so that it could be on the radar. And
Hmm.
again, if you keep it at high level, you can get that recognition, but even just the respect, it's not just the recognition, the flowers, it's to get that respect and visibility from our leaders.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, I guess the other piece that goes hand in hand with that when we look at it in terms of leaders, why do so many leaders think, I mean, I'm saying this, I don't think I ever know a leader that did this, but why do so many leaders think just writing a quick Teams message that says great job is enough to tick the appreciation box? Why do you think organizations aren't doing the recognition thing as well as they could?
Yeah, it's interesting because when my books came out, I did a lot of workshops with managers, and you just see so many of them who just don't get it. They
Yeah.
absolutely, positively don't get it. So then what I think happens is they have someone in HR like me, big bad Debra Corey, saying you have to do it, all 4'11" of me saying you have to do it. So they're like, okay, fine, I'll do a Slack message or something like that. And they do it sometimes just to get me off their back, but sometimes they do it also just because they think it's enough. So to
Yeah.
me, I always go back to the beginning and explain to them why it's important and how to do it. Because I also found that a lot of them, and I'm going to defend them for a minute here, just don't understand how to do it. I remember when I was doing a recognition program at a company and I was looking at the data. You can tell I like data. And I saw that like nobody in our entire Macedonia office was giving recognition, not a single person.
Wow.
So jumped on a plane and went to Macedonia, as one
As you
does.
do.
I just sat in the office and one by one walked around and talked to people. And I just realized that they just didn't understand it.
Mm.
Culturally, they didn't understand it. Also, there were a bunch of engineers. Sorry, I know Ken's on the phone. There were a bunch of engineers who just didn't get it. So I realized with them, I had to start from the beginning and explain the why. So I think that's part of the reason with leaders and on why they do the Slack. Again, what's your experience with that, Michelle?
Mine isn't well, I think that the leaders that I worked with, and again, I might have just had some really awful experiences. So my leaders I used to work with, so one of them said to me, I'm just not a thank you kind of guy. And I was like,
Oh,
oh
I've heard
wow.
that too. Yeah.
Wow,
What does
okay.
that mean? Yeah.
Yeah, just not an appreciator. Like that just
Yeah.
sounds horrible to me. And I'm not the kind of person that needs like a biscuit every time I do something. But when he said that to me, I literally was like, oh, that just made me feel really flat and horrible. And then the other one I always got was, why should I say thank you to people when they're just doing their jobs? And that again just makes me feel really
Yeah.
sad. It makes me
Or
feel sad.
yeah, I wanted to put a recognition program once, and my CEO said to me, "Isn't that what commission is for, or isn't that what a bonus is for?" So, and again, I just think they completely misunderstand it. So sometimes I don't even use the word recognition. It's like when I used
Mm,
to do pensions, I wouldn't use the word pension. I would just use other words, and I talk about. Do you think feedback is important for your employees? Oh my gosh, yeah, they definitely need feedback. Do you think that engagement is, and all the different reasons why it's important, and say, well, great, I'm glad you think that's important, because if you don't give recognition, your employees aren't getting that.
yeah.
and I almost back them into a corner where and then they just look at you like, oh shit, yeah, I guess that's why it's important. Because who's going to
Yeah.
say feedback is important, engagement isn't important, productivity? Again, I
Yeah.
think I
Yeah.
have a whole chapter on all the benefits of it. So if you do it
Yeah.
that way, then yeah, back against the wall. There you go. 4 foot
Yeah.
11 of me going, there you go.
I love that. I can just imagine you in all my manufacturing organizations like stomping around like a fierce recognition. I was going to say like a fierce little
Yeah.
recognition dwarf, like our little happy friend.
With my cheerleader and pom-poms. Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
absolutely that. Someone dropped into the chat. I have lost her. Sinead dropped into the chat. We used to link recognition to living our values, which meant then that HR could demonstrate that too, which I love. And I know that's something you are really passionate about as well. So should we touch on a little bit about like recognition aligned to values?
Well, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. If your recognition is not aligned with your values, you need to go back today and do it because, when I wrote my book on values, I think this was a couple of years ago, the statistics were something like only about a third of people know what their values are, and only like 23% of people know what they mean. So if you start using in recognition, exactly what Sinead said, people are going to start understanding what they are. Everyone's going to be included because you're right. Everybody lives the values in their own unique way. So yeah, borrowing from Nike, just do it. It's as simple as that. Yeah, there you go.
I love it. How do you think, when we come back to HR people and us being a little bit rubbish at it, how do you think we can start like claiming our wins? So if we're currently now not being recognized, what ways do you think we can kind of get some of those wins and appreciations coming in?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to something I said earlier as far as, being a voice, being a cheerleader, going out there and telling people, just not, I mean, and I say this whether you're an HR or you're a leader or you're an employee, you can't just assume that people are going to know what you're doing. And I challenge employees when I had people on my team and they said, so and so and so and so are getting recognized all the time. Why aren't I? Well, first of all, are you doing things worthy of being recognized, which I'm sure in HR you are. So tick that
Every damn
box.
day.
Tick every damn day. Yeah. So sometimes you just need to pause and slow down and first of all think about it. So one of the things that I talk about is, what if you're not used to recognition, once a week, sit down and think about all the great things that you've done. Because sometimes we don't even know the great things that we're doing. So think
Yep.
about those great things and then think about how can I share that in a way where you don't feel embarrassed? It's not ego. It is not ego at all. It is about making sure that the business understands what you're doing, appreciates what you're doing, and also learns from it. So if, all of a sudden you're presenting to the board that I've done 100 disciplinaries this, month, they're going to go, holy shit, maybe we need to do something about it. Maybe we've got a
Mm,
problem. So never underestimate the impact of you sharing on the rest of the business also. So get out there, look at it, look and see what you're doing, and then don't be afraid, picture me on your shoulder. I always had my old CEO used to be on my shoulder whispering my ear, picture me on your shoulder whispering, are you telling people about it? Do they
yeah.
know that you're doing it? And if you ever feel nervous about it, have me on both, Michelle on one shoulder, me on there you go. We'll
I'll be
double
there
team
leaning in with
them.
a martini on the shoulder.
Oh, there we go. If you have a martini, I've got a glass of wine. So,
Deal. Yeah, I think when I was in-house, we used to do a lot of, I would call it like PR for HR, where we'd make sure that we were talking about what we were doing in the business, how we did it in a way, obviously without breaching any confidentiality, but we would
yeah,
do something where we would talk about what we've been up to, because the impression of HR is that we just sat in the office and drank tea all day. But the reality is we did a lot more than that. Rarely had tea. We did a lot more than that. And so we did this like PR for HR. So every month I got my team to submit something that they would count as like PR for HR, so we could share what we were doing. Even if we couldn't get that kind of recognition
yeah.
bit in, it helped us to start thinking about what we were doing.
It doesn't just help recognition, it helps our visibility, it helps our effectiveness. I remember during the pandemic, I had this one neighbor, Ken will know exactly who I mean, and all she did was complain about HR. Anytime she saw
Yeah.
me, she just told me how HR was rubbish, rubbish, rubbish. All we do are disciplinaries and things like that.
Hmm.
And then during the pandemic, when we were walking, across the street from each other, she was saying, you know what, I got you guys wrong, because all of a sudden she saw HR in a different light and she saw all the amazing things that we did. And to me, if that's not, the reason why we need to do it, to
Yeah.
change people like that, to change their mindset, because they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're educating them. I love that PR for HR.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? It really helps. And I used to also get my team to do, like when you're studying for your CIPD, you have to do like a journal of all your like achievements and what you've been doing. And I think it's called a professional development record. I used to get my team to still do those because I'd be like, over the month, you will do so many great things and you will have
Yep.
completely forgotten about it because you're sucked into the next disciplinary. And you know what? It was amazing. So in their one-to-ones, we go back through them. They're like, oh, look, all these things I've done. I've actually done loads of really good stuff. So I think
Yeah.
it does start with like, well, for me anyway, it starts with the small acts and almost like the individuals, and
Yeah.
then you can kind of bring it out to the big stuff and the PR for HR. But
Yeah.
particularly with HR, I think we did a lot like within the team rather than kind of thinking about trying to get it across into the organization, because it's just almost impossible to get any kind of HR
Yeah.
nomination for
Yeah.
anything in there.
I think that's a great segue into a point that I want to make, in that sometimes in HR, we need to think about recognition in non-traditional ways, because you are right.
Yes.
Sometimes we can't go out and, get the quarterly award or whatever that is, because it would look wrong. Do you know what I
Yes.
mean? That
Yeah.
being said, if we've done this huge visible project, you've just put in a new benefit program, you've just put in a new recognition program, well, why the hell can't we be recognized for that?
Yeah.
But I do think we need to sort of take a step back and think about, what does recognition, like any employee, what does recognition mean to me? What is going to make me feel seen and valued? Do I need that trophy, or actually, do I need some extra time off because I'm just so tired that I need to do that? Do I need, like, to your point, community recognition, like
Yeah.
within HR Geeks, those types of
Yes.
things?
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, sometimes we just need to think outside of the box and think about what is going to make us actually feel valued.
Yeah, totally. That's a really good point you make about geeks, actually, because that is one of the things we do a lot. Is people will drop something and they've done into the Geek Squad chat, and everyone kind of piles in, goes, "Oh my god, that's amazing!" Because you just don't get it from anywhere else. And I love that it becomes like a little cheerleader in your pocket when you've got a community that can really help and support and understand what you do. Because I think that's part of it with HR teams, isn't it? Is people don't really understand what we do, and then how can
Yeah.
they know when it's they don't really understand what we do? So I think there's something in there as well.
I love cheerleader in your pocket. I can picture a visual, yeah, maybe on your t-shirts or something, cheerleader pocket. But I think you made a really good point, because it's not just in HR, again, it's other functions. We appreciate the hard work that goes into things. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm going to pick on Ken again. Ken's a developer. I
Yeah.
don't know how hard it is to develop a new app. Yes, I'll show him appreciation, but not genuine and meaningful appreciation. So
Yeah.
again, maybe you need to look for people who get you and get the difference that you're making, and
Yeah.
then get that seen and valued and appreciated from them, because they're the ones who are really going to, I mean, we all know that when you genuinely feel appreciated, happiness chemicals are released. You
Yeah.
want those people who are going to release those happiness chocolate chemicals.
Yeah, totally. And it's really funny. You've just reminded me of last year's Geek Together event. And I came away, and I was used to doing events in corporate, right? And that you just do them and it'd be done. If you were lucky, somebody would say thank you. Maybe you might get a little, like once I got a little bottle of wine just dropped on my desk with no note or anything. And that's all I got, even though I'd run like an event that cost us like hundreds of thousands of pounds. But what I found in the Geek Together event, because it was HR people, suddenly everybody understood what had gone into it and how hard it was, and how like all the little thoughtful bits that would normally go completely unrecognized suddenly got noticed. And I think you're so right about like the quality of appreciation and people actually understanding meaningfully how to appreciate what you've done. It makes such a massive difference. And that for me was the Geek Together last year, where people like noticed everything and understood everything, and it made such a huge difference. It just blew my mind. It genuinely blew my mind that people could get it and understand it. So yeah, I think you're right. That was my best bit of recognition ever, I think.
And you know what? I think it's a really important point, because we've been talking about what we need from others, but maybe we need to challenge ourselves in what can we give to others, because people probably didn't realize those little things that they did that absolutely positively made your day. I mean, think about like on LinkedIn, when you spend all this time writing a post and somebody writes this one little comment that absolutely makes your day.
Yeah.
You're jumping up and down, you've got this huge, so we really as HR people need to think about, how can we do that for one another? How can we support each other and do those small little things? Because if it's not going to happen from other people, let's do that for ourselves. It's like every year, I don't know why I do this, have different expectations every year. I am the birthday person at my family. So in the morning, I wake up early, I decorate the house. Does anyone ever do it for me? So some
No.
years I just do it for myself. I'm like, if no one
Oh,
else
I
is
love
going to do it,
that.
I'm going to do the balloons for myself. I won't be surprised, but I
But it's
still
still cute. Yeah.
exactly buy myself special balloons or something like that.
Yeah, I love that. I do the same when we went on our honeymoon many years ago now. And I wanted like this romantic dinner on the sea, and I must have dropped so many hints to my husband. And do you know what? In the end, I did it myself, and I was like, I'm just going to do it myself, and I did, and it was lovely. I
Yeah.
feel like you say it's not like a big surprise, but actually, it was really nice just to have the thing that I wanted. After all, like it was good. So yeah, make your
But
own.
that's a really interesting point about dropping hints. I'm going to
Yeah.
tell you, dropping hints makes no, it does nothing. It doesn't work with your partner. It doesn't work with your children. It doesn't work with your boss. So we
Hmm.
need to stop dropping hints and just say it.
Yeah.
If you want recognition, tell them, I need to be recognized in this way. This is what is going to make me feel valued. I will share with with you what I did, but then you need to take the baton and do something. So yeah,
Yeah.
I need to start doing that in my marriage, but I do it at work.
Funnily enough, Ken's just dropped in the chat. I don't want anything for my birthday.
I'm not even reading the chat because I don't want to know what he says, but yeah.
Oh, that is brilliant. What kind of small but mighty, let's say, a bit like our very own Deborah, small but mighty. What small but mighty thing do you think HR people can do? Like they can finish this call, go away and do today that will start to build that culture of appreciation. What do you think?
Well, I think there's two sides of what we've been talking. We've been talking about for ourselves, and then we're
Mhm.
talking for the rest of the business. So let's start with ourselves because we never start with ourselves. And we talked about it a little bit already. So if you can be more intentional with your own appreciation, intentional, as Michelle said, journal what you do. Because saying I want to be appreciated more is not genuine. We always talk about recognition needs to be specific. So be specific about what you want to be appreciated for, and then be intentional about sharing that information and what you need from people. So if that's all you can do from the call for yourself is create your own little journal and then tell your boss, you know what, when we meet, we're going to sit down and we're going to go through this and then talk with your boss and your team about what can we do to take it to the next level.
I think that's really important. We don't do enough of that, do we? Like
Yeah.
saying what you want to be appreciated for. I don't think I've ever done that in
No.
20 plus year career. So yeah, it's such a good point.
Do you know, I would love to say this is why I write books, because I talk about what I should have done. I've never done it myself either. As I was preparing for the call, I'm like, damn, why didn't I ever do this? Maybe we need to write up, Michelle, I've got like a well-being journal. You and I can create a
Yes.
appreciation journal. We'll have pictures of
Yes.
giraffes and rainbows, and everyone can write in it. There you go. There you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that. That's such a good idea. That's so cool. I think that's a
Or
really good shout.
Ken, can you create an app? Ken will create an app for us. And it's
Yeah,
so
done.
easy. It's so easy. He'll do it by the end of the day. Just kidding.
We appreciate you, Ken.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. As far as your business, and I'm sure you guys are doing this already, but really go back. I said it before, start at the beginning and help your leaders understand why it's important. Get in a discussion with them. Why is it, go
Mm,
back to your employees. I want you to go back and talk to your employees and ask them why it's important and give them the same challenge. What are you doing to make sure that you're not missing it? I mean, one of my books is called See It, Say It, Appreciate It. And
yeah.
it all starts with, looking for it. My giraffes have glasses. You need to put your appreciation glasses and intentionally look for it and then say it with meaning, linked to your values, as was said
Yeah.
already, and then deliver appreciation in a meaningful way. So yeah, share
Yeah.
that mantra with them and go for it.
I used to also really love like really easy but funny ways of doing engagement. So like an appreciation around engagement. So we had a competition in my corporate days to name the meeting rooms of our newly refurbished offices, and we had like 6 or something.
Yeah.
Loads of great ideas came in, and we actually had more ideas than I expected. And I genuinely didn't think people were going to join in. I thought, oh, here we go. I'll end up making them up myself, but here we go. And actually, we had loads of really good suggestions. And so, for anyone who put in a suggestion, I got them a box of like after 8 chocolates, and I said, thank you for your engagement.
Do you know what I love about that example is that I'm like you. I try to weave appreciation to everything I do.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to ask somebody for help, what can I do to thank them for doing it? I think that, but then also I'm like you. I'm a big believer in bringing your employees into it.
Yeah.
I've had people come up with the name of our recognition program and our recognition
Yeah.
cards. designing images for your values. I mean, why not bring in the collective expertise? But then to your point, the more you then show them that you appreciate them, the more they're going to get involved later. And it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. You know, how much did it cost to do After Eights? And you probably made their day.
Yeah, exactly that. And I went round and made sure that I gave them all out by hand as well. And people were so genuinely like, oh my God, thank you so much. That was brilliant. So yeah, it was really cool. And I also did a lot of play on words jokes. So like people who did something amazing, I'd get them an Amazon voucher and say, thank you for your Amazon.
You need to write my next book with me, Michelle. But you know what? I think people really appreciate the
people remember it.
They do. One of the examples in my book is I interviewed somebody, and he used to, anytime somebody would do something that really brought the culture to life, he would give them a culture vulture. He went to the pet store. It's in one of my books. He went to the pet store and got one of these squeaky vulture toys. And anytime somebody did it, he would send them that and then write them a lovely handwritten note. Someone else, he used to bake, anytime somebody would help him, he would bake them homemade chocolate chip cookies. So everybody was like, can I help you? Can I help you? Can I help you?
That is so cool. Oh, I love that. I love that. I also think there's something about like accidental appreciation can almost be like double nice. So for the geeks, well, you'll know this because you got one. For the geeks, I try and do some kind of Christmas gift, and it has to always be like gluten-free, vegan, you know, all the right, because I want to make sure that everybody's included. And last year we did advent calendars, and the amount of people that sent me messages saying, oh my God, I do these for the kids, I never get them for myself, or I always make sure my family have them and I never do it for myself. So it's that weird, like, oh, that was a complete surprise to me that it was like something that people would really appreciate and value, but it worked so well and I just loved it so much. So yeah, it's interesting.
Two things I love about that. I love, you know, I design formal programs all the time, but I love informal accidental. So again, think about what does that mean to you? Talk to your, you know, your colleagues and your boss, but also use it for other people. But also I love that you brought pleasure because in what you gave to people. And you are right. I never get an advent calendar because I buy them for everyone else. So I think it was really thoughtful of you, but that was really thoughtful of you, you know, to think about what could I do that is really going to be meaningful to somebody? You know, sending an advent calendar was brilliant.
Yeah, I loved it. It was really good fun actually. And it was fun to do. Like I actually found it fun to do. So yeah, I'm all about like the giving is actually fun to do too.
Do you know what? I think that you get happiness chemicals when you give just as much as you receive. Absolutely, absolutely.
Got to. Yeah. And Claire's just put in there, I think a handwritten note is very personal and so simple to do. I completely agree, Claire. I do love a handwritten note. I'm minded that this time has quite literally flown by. Like it is literally, we're almost at time. So let's finish on, if we had like an HR appreciation manifesto for HR people, what do you think it would contain? What would the first line be?
Do you know what? When you asked me that question, I brought in my friend ChatGPT. So I interpreted this as for HR to get us noticed. Yes. So I'm going to a couple of the ones that I liked. We are not the party planners of culture. We are the architect, and it's time you thank the builders.
Yes.
HR delivers the hard stuff with heart. Time to tip the driver. And then my last one, this one took a little bit of work because ChatGPT just did not get what I was trying to say. We do more behind the scenes than a stage crew on opening night. So how about some applause for the humans behind the scenes of human resources?
Yes. I love this so much. Oh, thank you. This has been so good. I also want to thank you, Life, for letting us hold these amazing sessions. So thank you very much, You Life, for having us. And I know, Deborah, I love that you are as much of a You Life aficionado as I am. So we in the Geeks have the You Life app. And oh my word, are we ever like the most competitive people in the world? I have already done my Sudoku this morning. I did a rubbish time, so don't look at my time. But You Life,
I haven't done it yet. I wanted to wait until after this call, get some caffeine in. Yeah, not that I ever in the top. I think the best I've gotten is like the top 10. But you know what? I'm competing against myself when it comes to Sudoku.
Yeah, so thank you, You Life, for letting us host this amazing session. And thank you so much, Deborah, for coming along and being such a great guest. And thank all of you for your amazing connection in the chat and all of your suggestions. I look forward to hearing all about what you do as you leave this call for your appreciation manifestos. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.